Tuesday is going to be the next hearing over the so-called Alligator Alcatraz Immigration Detention Center in the Florida Everglades. A judge temporarily halted construction of the site last week after 2 days of testimony about its environmental impact. Now, this comes as new reporting from NPR highlights the heartbreak that this site has already caused families. NPR's Jasmine Cars spoke to a woman about a family fishing trip last month that led to her husband being sent to Alligator Alcatraz. She asked to be anonymous for fear of retaliation from immigration officials. The woman, who goes by M, explained that her husband was approached by a fish and wildlife officer while she was breastfeeding their child in the car. They were arrested and separated because they weren't able to show a driver's license. M was taken to a local jail and released later that night. She was required to wear an ankle monitor in order to leave the country within 3 months. But her husband was sent to Alligator Alcatraz and nobody told her. The reporter on that story, Jasmine Gars, joins us now. She's an immigration correspondent for NPR and host of the Last Cup podcast. Jasmine, what surprised you the most in this reporting this story?
Yeah, I mean, I think a couple of things. I mean, one thing that really surprised me that I'm hearing quite a bit of is the days-long disappearance. They are arrested together, and they're policed separately, and he essentially goes missing for 4 days. She's released with an ankle monitor. She cannot find him. She scours the immigration detention website. She calls immigration officials. She asks a lawyer friend to please call. He called the Attorney General of Florida. Wow. For 4 days, this man is missing. She gets a phone call at 3 a.m. He's in Alligator Alcatraz. And during those 4 days, she says she fell into a complete state of terror. And I'm hearing a lot of that, of these like pools of disappearances for a couple of days and even for a week.
Wow.
Well, the Cato Institute has really been diving into what are the numbers, what does it mean, the numbers behind all of these horrible stories. And they did a new study where basically 1 in 5 Latino arrests on the streets have no criminal background, anything, or removal order, and it is strictly racial targeting.
Absolutely. I mean, look, at NPR, we've been crunching the numbers. There are approximately 60,000 people in immigration detention right now. A little over 70% do not have a criminal conviction. Just let's let that number sink in. Over 70% of the detainees in immigration detention right now do not have a criminal conviction. And so that is really clashing with this rhetoric of we're getting the worst of the worst, we're getting the rapists and murderers, we're getting the 60-year-old landscapers.
And this rhetoric is also part of what fed into the massive expansion for ICE's budget. We're now seeing that translate into this big effort from DHS to try to recruit people. They removed an age cap, basically inviting much older people to become ICE agents if they so choose or are interested. I want to pull up actually one DHS poster on the screen. It gives you kind of an example of the interesting aesthetic and sort of propaganda style approach they've taken to this. For someone who's reported on this, have you seen this kind of imagery in immigration in the United States before? What does this sort of reflect to you and tell you about where we are and where this agency is going?
No, I have not. I have never seen this. I have also never seen these terror tactics, right? I've never seen masked agents going into communities. I've never seen days-long disappearances, lawyers not being able to contact detainees. And when I see an image like that, it really feels like a sort of almost like a cosplaying G.I. Joe with your 60-year-old landscaper. Again, these are people, you know, when it comes to like Alligator Alcatraz and I hear nobody's going to be able to escape, these guys are not trying to escape Alligator Alcatraz. 70% of these people do not have a criminal conviction. Speaking
of cosplay and almost 60-year-old folks, We have learned that Dean Cain, formerly of, and I always forget who Dean Cain is until I realize he was Superman, and then I realize he's like the worst Superman. He has said that he wants to sign up for ICE, right? Like, and so when you talk about cosplay, all jokes aside, this very much so feels like cops and robbers for folks. Talk to us about how are you training a 59-year-old man, for example, even someone who you know may have had a active lifestyle, right? Like, where are you finding these rogue cowboys that just say, like, I want to dress up and help ICE, regardless of where they are in life and their age? Talk to us about that.
Well, I think it's a PR move, right? I mean, all jokes aside, Dean Cain has spoken about the Japanese side of his family being in an internment camp, all jokes aside. So I think it's very symbolic of this moment that we're in which there seems to be a collective amnesia that so many Americans come from immigrant families, from immigrant groups that were vilified, whether it was Italian Americans or Irish immigrants, or in the case of Dean Cain's ancestors who were placed in an internment camp. But as per your question, I think there's this huge PR move. I mean, I believe that poster that you showed, in the social media post, it always also said that this is a wonderful father-son activity.
That's right.
Yeah. And so, again, there is an element of role-playing and, against people who, for the most part, they're not criminals.
And just a little historical context. During World War II, we didn't want old men fighting. That was getting rid of the older officers within the officer corps was a no-brainer, because they were simply like, if you were around Dean Cain's age, you would not have been getting a plum posting.
Well, and this is not World War II.
Exactly.
One of the things as a reporter, I covered immigration earlier in my career, and it's interesting in this moment, the cognitive dissonance of being told, not a soul is crossing the border. We've sealed the U.S.-Mexico border, but also we need a tripled budget. This is going to be larger than many other nations' militaries, and that those things should be true at the very same time. How do you?
Yeah, no, I think it's the creation of a reality that on the ground is not the reality. But I also think what's happening that concerns me as a reporter as well, as I report on this, is the normalization of a certain brutality. It's the normalization of a certain degree of cruelty, regardless of what you think about immigration laws and should we have a conversation about immigration processes. There's sort of this normalizing of this brutality of masked agents going in and, again, like cosplaying the Punisher on a woman who is selling, street vendor with food. And so I think that is part of this, I feel that we might be at this crossroad in which we either say, this is the norm, this is the landscape of who we are, or no, this is unrealistic.
A lot of people concerned that the Overton window just keeps shifting and shifting and shifting. Jasmine Garz, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me.